We're going to go into the Elohim Shema prayer on page 99. Sing with me. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. God breathed life into all of us, pure, pure soul. So let's take that breath in, breathe in, and breathe out all the tension of the last week. Just let it go. Do it again, breathe in, pure soul, breathe out. Elohim, Elohim, Neshama, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorani, Tehorani. One more time. Elohim, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorani, Tehorani. We continue now on page 141, and we talk about our breath. All of our breath and all of our soul praises God. Hallelujah, El Bekocho, Hallelujah, Birkia Uzo, Hallelujah, Vikurota. Hallelujah, Keroguno, Hallelujah, Beteka Shofar, Hallelujah, Benevel Bechinor, Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Hallelujah, betofumacho. Hallelujah, bemiberuga. Hallelujah, betzilzile shama. Hallelujah, betzilzile tuba. Kol hanshama tehallel ya. Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Everyone sing with me. Hallelujah. 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 We'll continue now on page 143. Ozi vezimrat yah vayagi yeshua. Ozi vezimrat yah vayagi Ozi bezimrat yah vayagi yeshua. Ozi bezimrat yah vayagi yeshua. Adonai Kimlo Yehuda Ba'ed Kimlo Yehuda
Shabbat shalom. So beautiful, the Birchot HaShachar, to get us in the mood for our services this morning. You know, Birchot HaShachar, Psukei Zimra are supposed to be a wake-up call. We almost imagine like an alarm clock going off or something that would sort of just help us wake up and feel the day that's coming. I almost imagine that I heard one just kind of waking me up to the morning and prayer. The Baruch Hu is that experience of bringing us together. It's about Vayakel, to be able to gather us together. It's about being able to share the moment and when we feel the presence of community. So even though you're out there on live streaming, you are bound together in the sacred community of the moment. And so we're going to continue with the Baruch Hu, page 150.
Ya la la la, ya la la la. Adonai Eloheinu, Melech haolam, Yotzer or uvorech Hoshem, Oseh shalom shalom, uvorech hakol. את הכל.
Shabbat Shalom. We'll continue with our service on page 153 or Chadash.
Sing along, clap, dance, it's Shabbos. If you're outside, listen to the birds singing, but just join with me. Ya-la-la, la-la, la-la, ya-la-la, la-la, la, ya-la-la, la-la, la-la, ya-la-la, la-la. Or Chadash, Al Zion Ta'ir. Or Chadash, Al Zion Ta'ir. V'nizkech u'landu, v'nizkech u'landu, me'era le'oro. V'nizkech u'landu, v'nizkech u'landu, me'era le'oro. Ya-la-la, la-la, ya-la-la, la-la, ya-la-la, Baruch Ata Adonai Yotzer HaMeorot.
We continue on page 154, Ahava Rabbah.
Ahava Rabbav Tanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla Gedola V'Teira V'Malta Aleinu Avinu Malkeinu Bavur Avoteinu Shabbat Avinu Malkeinu Batalam Dem Chukechayim Kein Tichoneinu L'Tamdeinu Avinu Ha'av Ha'Rachman Hamarachem Rachem Aleinu V'ten B'libeinu Lehavin Lehavinu Lehaskili Shmoa Lilmodu Lelamed Lishmor Velazon Ulekayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha be'ahava Deha'erneinu v'toratecha v'daber libeinu v'tznotecha v'yached levaveinu ahava u'yera et shemecha v'lo nevosh le'olam va'ed v'lo nevosh le'olam va'ed ki v'shem kodshecha hagadol v'hanora batachnu nagila v'nismecha b'shu'atecha.
We'll talk a little more about this later, but as you might know, this week is Shabbat Parah, one of the special Shabbatot that leads us up to Passover, tells us it's time to start getting ready for Passover, and specifically to sort of get ourselves mentally, spiritually ready, pure, we could say, for Passover. So spiritually speaking, how do we start getting ourselves ready for Passover? I think usually it starts with an openness, with some listening. We'll ask our each other in just a minute when we say the Shema, we'll ask each other to listen. Shema Yisrael, listen Israel. So let's try to turn inward and ask ourselves that same question. What can we listen to? What can we be open to? How can we prepare ourselves? What do we need to do to be spiritually ready for Passover this year? We still have a few weeks, so there's plenty of time to get to work. We will prepare for the Shema now by bringing the four corners of our tzitzit together. We're on page 154 at the bottom paragraph, V'havienu.
V'havienu l'shalom me'arba kanfot haaretz v'tolichenu k'miyud le'artzenu v'tolichenu k'miyud le'artzenu ki el po'el Yeshuat atah uvanu v'acharta mikulam velashon v'kerabtanu l'shimcha hagadol sela be'emet lehodot lecha להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
We are excited to have Aaron Zatz with us this morning, who's going to lead us in the Shema. Aaron, are you there with us? We'll have you turn your camera on when you have a chance. We're on page 155. Aaron, can you hear us? Are you with us?
Yes, I can hear
There
you.
we go. All right. Take it away, page 155, Shema.
Okay. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'chayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anuhi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibartavam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'adere Ushokbeha uvekumeha ukshartam leod al yadeha v'hayu letotafo beineha uchtavtam al mezuzo beiteha uvishareha.
We'll continue to ourselves at the top of page 156. Aaron is going to continue in the middle of page 156 with Vayomer.
Vayomer Adonai al Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael Vayomer Adonai al Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael ve'amar da alehem ve'asu lahem tzitzit al kanfei
Al kanfei
v'gehem lid
Dorotam
v'nanu al tzitzit hakanaf b'til techelet v'haya lachem la tzitzit Uritem oto uzhartem et kol mitzvot Adonai ve'asitem otam velo tatu ahare levavhem ve'ahare ehem asher atem zunim aharehem Lama tiskeru ve'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohim Asher hotziechem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihyo lahem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohim Adonai Elohim. Amen.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for being with us this morning and for joining us for the Shema, being part of our service. We are going to continue now on page 158 with Mi Chamocha.
Shimcha asfad hayam yachad kulam hodu ve'im lichu ve'ameru Adonai imloch le'olam ba'ed Adonai imloch le'olam ba'ed Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai 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 la lai la 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 lai 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 la lai la 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 lai Yai la lai lai ya la lai 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 Sur Yisrael kuma be'ezrat Yisrael Ufedechinu mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael Go aleinu Adonai tzavot shemo Kadosh Yisrael Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
We'll begin the Amidah together on page 159. We invite you to rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot Umevi Goel Livnei V'Nehem L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Ufokedu Moshia Umagen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ufoked Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayem Eitim Atah Rav Lehoshia Mashiv Haruach Umorid Hagashem Mechakel Chaim V'Chesed Mechayem Eitim V'Rachamim Rabim Zomech Noflim V'Rofech Olim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha B'Gevurot Umido Melach Melech Memitu Mechayeh Umatmeach Yeshua V'Ne'eman ונתן לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
נקדש את שמך וכתוב על יד אביך וקורא זה אל זה ויאמר.
נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום. ככתוב על יד נביאיך וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוכו הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול. מתנשאים לעומת שרפים לעומתם ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
ממקומך מכינו תהיו.
ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. איי 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 מתי תמלוך בציון וקרוב בימינו וקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. איי 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 ואיננו תירנה תירנה מלכותך כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך על ידי דוד על ידי דוד משיח צדקך על ידי דוד על ידי דוד משיח צדקך ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור הללויה לדור ודור לדור ודור, לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך. Join with me, לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך. ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. בשבחך אלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך. לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור, נגיד גודלך. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, וקדוש וקדוש אתה. יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי, יא לי 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 לי. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue davening the Amidah to ourselves through page 166 in the Hebrew, in the English, or whatever prayers are in your heart.
עושה שלום, עושה שלום, עושה שלום במרומיו, עושה שלום, עושה שלום, עושה שלום במרומיו. עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום, עושה שלום, עושה שלום במרומיו.
We'll continue now with Kaddish Shalem, page 167.
יתקרא ויקרא שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם לעולמי עלמיא יתברך. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yishmam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalel shemei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol b'chata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran be'alem ha'v'yimeru amen titkabal zloton v'atahon decho Yisrael kodam v'hon v'yishmaya v'yimeru amen Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen Oseh shalom b'mramav Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen.
We'll begin the Torah service now, and as we symbolically take the Torah out from the ark and prepare to read from it, we'll join together in Ki Mitzion, page 168.
Ki Mitzion, Tetzei Torah, Udvar Adonai Yerushalayim. Ki Mitzion, Tetzei Torah, Udvar Adonai Yerushalayim. Ki Mitzion, Tetzei Torah, Udvar Hashem Yerushalayim. Ki Mitzion, Tetzei Torah, Udvar Adonai Yerushalayim. Ki Mitzion, Tetzei Torah, Udvar Adonai Yerushalayim. Ki Mitzion, Tetzei Torah, Udvar Adonai Yerushalayim.
As usual, before we read Torah, we'll join together in the blessing for learning and studying Torah together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. We'll now hear the first Aliyah, which David Bruskin will be reading for us. If you have an Eitz Chaim Chumash, you can find that on page 529. It's Exodus chapter 31, verse 18. Oh, and David, we'll just need you to unmute. David,
Okay.
are you there with us?
I am. I'm here. Got it. Vayitein el Moshe kechaloto l'daber ito b'har Sinai shnei luchot ha'idut luchot even ktuvim ba'etzba Elohim vayahar ha'aham kivoshesh Moshe la'redet min ha'har vayikahel ha'aham al Aharon vayomruhu elav kuhum Aseh lahanu Elohim, asher yelechu lefanenu kizeh, Moshe ha'ish, asher helanu me'eretz Mitzrayim, lo yadanu mehayaloho, vayomer alehem Aharon, harakud nizmeh hazahav, asher ba'oznehe neshechem, b'nechem uvnotechem, v'haviyu elahai, Vayiparaku kol ha'aham et nizmeh hazahav asher ba'oznehem ve'aviyu el Aharon vayikahach miadam vayachatar oto bacheret vaya'asehu egel masecha vayahomeruhu ehile Elohecha Yisrael asher ha'elucha me'eretz Mitzrayim vayahar Aharon Vayiven mizbeach fanav vayikra Aharon vayomahar chag l'Adonai machar vayashkimu mimacharahat vaya'aluhu olohot vayagishu shlomim vayeshev ha'am le'echol v'shatoho vayakumu lehitzacheh.
Yasher Koach, David. Nice to hear you reading. So how do we develop a sense of God and understanding God? I don't know about you, trying to come to an idea about what to believe in God. Rabbi Galko, I don't know about you, the hardest paper I ever wrote in rabbinical school, as I always share this, was in my philosophy class with Dr. Gilman, in which we had to write, it was about 3 pages to describe our whole theology. I don't know if, did you have a paper like that? 3 pages, you didn't have that. So now I see you shake, it was brutal, right? Because when you start writing it and you realize like something isn't jiving, right? Like, I believe this, how can I believe this? And it took me like, I think about 3 months to write this paper, no kidding. You couldn't use citations, you couldn't do anything else but have it be yours. And I've changed, my theology has, just evolved so much, of course, from rabbinical school. One of my favorite moments, many years ago, when we were interviewing a rabbinical school graduate, and we were looking for a second rabbi, and the congregation asked the question of him and said, what's your belief about God? And he looked at them and said, today? Right? It was a great moment, right? And it was a great acknowledgement about what does it mean to try and understand our understanding of God. I don't know if any of you have ever tried to talk with 20 and 30-year-olds about God. It's a challenge. And so I begin things like, do you believe that there's a power beyond you? Right? And very often they'll be able to say, yeah. And then I'll ask, do you believe that that power wants us to behave in a certain way, whether towards each other or towards nature? Well, maybe. And then as soon as I say, well, the idea of God is, no, stop, like, not God. Like, no, I don't believe in God. And so I used to teach very often a theology class, which I taught about middle theology, in which I believed that we would start from 2 ends of what we believed, maybe, and what we didn't believe, but it's more nuanced than that, by the way, right? So questions like, what do I believe to be true, and what do I believe not to be true, right? What do I think is true, and what I think is not true? By the way, what do I want to be true? And what do I not want to be true? And by the way, maybe part of it is, right? What do I reject about God? Any idea? For example, like that God had anything to do with the Holocaust or other atrocities, right? And it's so complicated. And that's the paper I really wish I had written, Rabbi Galko, right? It was just like forgetting about what the professor wanted, but kind of outlining this. And so the word in the Hebrew, by the way, that's used in the Bible is to know God, lada'at, right? You should know God. The rabbis later, interestingly enough, they prefer the word emunah, which is a little like more of a belief. But even the great Rambam, who talked about knowing God, believed in a rationalism, which the best he could say was, right? Here's what Rambam would say if he were here today. Based on how I experience God personally, it appears to me that God, and then would be able to describe it. Like, that's the best we can do. And by the way, I want to suggest that the Torah conveys this great uncertainty about what we're supposed to believe, even from the context of those original experiences, because of the great ambiguity of language and understanding. For example, I teach, many of you know, about the burning bush. How do you understand something that's burning and yet not yet being consumed? Right? How do you understand the name of the God that really doesn't make sense? Right? Today, right? The story about seeing God's backside. The 13 attributes, which are supposedly a description of God's attributes. Moses wants to know about God. And so God offers his 13 attributes. But by the way, we include them in our prayers. Many of you know this, Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum B'Chahanun. And we go, right, especially the high holy days. Well, did you know that the rabbis actually cut off the end of that 13 attributes? Because they didn't want to emphasize the idea that God doesn't forgive. And so if you look at the verse, like, they just cut it right off. And so I want to suggest that today, even in the giving of the Torah, that there's great ambiguity about what took place, right? What happened on Mount Sinai? Right? It's an amazing, kind of deliberate, I believe, ambiguity of saying we're not exactly sure what happened at Mount Sinai. So I just want to look at 2 verses from today's portion, and I'm going to actually try and share. And let's see what happens. Hold on. We're going to try this. Okay, here we go. All right. Can you see that, Rabbi Galko? Everybody can see it. All right, so this is chapter 34, verse 1. Now, by the way, these are the second set of tablets. Remember, David just read for us the Egel HaZahav, the golden calf, and Moses breaks the tablets, goes back up, and this is when Moses goes right back up. This first verse here. I should have put the notation. The Lord said to Moses, carve 2 tablets of stone like the first, and I will inscribe upon the tablets the words that were on the first tablets, which you shattered. Now, if you read that, it's really clear who's doing the writing, right? It's going to be God. Moses this time, by the way, last time God gave him the tablets. And so, he didn't even have to schlep them up the mountain. This time, he's schlepping them up. But God says, as you take them up, I'm going to write on them. And yet, right, later on, right, verse 17, here's what it says. And he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. He ate no bread and drank no water. And he wrote down on the tablets the terms of the covenant, the 10 commandments. So who's the he here? By the way, note in this translation from Safari, it's a lowercase h, which seems to imply that the subject here is Moses and not God who actually wrote them. So which one is it? Is it this one that God said, I'm going to write it down? Or is it this one in which we actually read that Moses, right, apparently wrote them down? Now, by the way, there are some rabbis who want to read this he as God because it will reconcile with what the text says earlier. But here's what I want to tell you. What I want to share with you is, if there wanted to be great clarity here, why isn't there? So often the Torah spend, this minutia of language to make sure you understand everything. In fact, it'll repeat things for us. Why is it ambiguous here? I believe, I really do, that the final editors of this Torah, that they knew what they were doing. They're actually weaving together different traditions, that they understood that there are different perceptions, and they understand that God's presence, man, you have 2 people, the same place, the same time, and experience God differently. I believe the Torah is really trying to help us understand that as each of us come to understand God in our own way. And we're going to continue now with the next Torah reading. Debbie Strom's going to read for us, beginning chapter 32, verse 7, page, if you're looking at the Eitz Chaim, page 531.
Vayeraber Adonai el Moshe le'efrei ki shichet amecha asher he'eleta me'eretz Mitzrayim saru maher min ha'derech asher sivitim asu lahem egel mesecha vayishtakhavu lo vayisbechu lo vayomeru Ele Elohecha Yisrael, Asher He'elucha Me'eretz Mitzrayim, Vayomer Adonai El Moshe, Ra'iti et ha'am hazeh, V'hineyam Keshe Oref hu, Ve'ata hanicha li, V'yichar api vahem, Va'achalem, Ve'e'ese otecha Legoy Gadol, Vayichal Moshe, Et penei Adonai Elohav, Vayomer Lama Adonai Yecharei Apecha Beyamecha Asher Hotzeta Me'eretz Mitzrayim B'choach Gadol Uvyad Chazaka.
Asher Korach, Debbie. That was always beautiful. By the way, you call the Israelites Am Kshe Oref. You know that, right? Right, the translation being a stiff-necked people. And it's interesting that the rabbis try and point out that that's what's been able to help us survive, is that, right, that sense of perseverance, if you will, through adversity. Well, adversity comes in all forms, including illness. This is going to be a moment of transition for Misha Berach prayer. So whether this is for you, for a loved one, for anybody that you know, we turn our prayers as we start the Misha Berach together.
Avotenu v'kor habracha
On the Shabbat, we pray for the healing and strength for Elon Shayot, for Dina bat Yocheved, Chaim ben Sarah, Reuven ben Malka, Hannah bat Fegel, Tikva bat Gil Elisheva, Rachel Sarah bat Leah, Shoshana bat Serol, Sarah bat Rachel, Harvey Saltz, Susan Stavis, Lori Simon, Hinda bat Ahin, Rachel bat Moshe Aharon, Kasalea bat Adeline, Zachary Whedon, Mira bat Devora, Recha Sarah bat Perel, Yael bat Panina, Baruch ben Chaya, Paula Shayot, Yeshua David ben Fego, Uri ben Yehudit, Nikki Sander, Zakit ben bat Masha. If you're thinking of somebody and you have someone in mind we have not mentioned, I want you to bring them to mind now as we think of all those who are suffering from the coronavirus, all frontline workers, all people at this moment who are ill. May they have strength and comfort and healing.
With refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We're going to continue with our Torah reading on page 532, chapter 32, beginning verse 12. Lori Schlisman is going to read for us. Lori, there you go.
Lama yomeru mitzrayim lemor bera hotziam leharogotam beharim ulchalotam me'al penei ha'adama shuv meharon apecha Ehinachem al hara le'amecha zechor la'araham le'yitzhak Yisrael avadecha asher nishvata lahem bach Vatidaber Elohim arbe et zirachem kekokevei hashamayim vekol haaretz hazot asher amarti itein lezarachem venachalu leolam. V'yinachem Adonai al hara asher diber le'asot le'amo.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba v'yalmad divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael bagala bagala uvizman kariv v'meru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach La'olam alomei omaya yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitjamam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitoleh v'yithalal shemei dekudisha berichu la'elamin kol bechata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma ve'imru amen.
So if we were gathered together in the sanctuary, we would be lifting up that Torah scroll, right? And we would be taking out a second Torah scroll for what we call Shabbat Parah. This is the, by the way, if you want a great explanation of Shabbat Parah, just look back at the email they received for Shabbat with a great message from Rabbi Galko about Shabbat Parah. You can learn so much about it. But Shabbat Parah, by the way, is this Shabbat of the Red Heifer. It's about purification that had to take place prior to Passover, when everybody, only those who were pure, could partake of the Passover offering. What's interesting, by the way, a couple things that make this this Red Heifer offering unusual is that, one, it was only for the highest levels of impurity of having to do with death, of corpses or being in contact or bones or anything. That was one. Two, and as I was reading a little bit more about this, it only happened apparently a handful of times that they offered the Red Heifer offering, and it wasn't done inside the tabernacle itself or inside the temple where normal sacrifices are. It was done outside. Everything is different about this, including a very unusual feature that the people who were involved, the Kohanim, in purifying those who were impure, became impure themselves. Hatameh, right? Hatahar, the tameh, metameh tahar, the rabbis say, and it's a great, right? It's a great paradox. How can those who are actually purifying become impure, and those who are impure become pure? Like, how is that happening? It's a great model, if you will, in terms of how sin works sometimes, of how it's engaged in the world. I read a Devar Torah recently about this, and it really made me think, because it's basically about being involved in other people's lives, right? These Kohanim who are trying to, if you will, to purify these people. And it made me think about the ways in which, I don't know about you, how often when you get involved with family members or other people and there's conflict, how often, what's that expression? It'll come back to bite you, right? Like somehow the greatest moments when you want to insert yourself are going to be moments in which you may pay a price. In fact, you may get a little bit dirty. Isn't that interesting? That you yourself may somehow become so entangled, and you know sometimes before you get in it. How many of you, right? Does it like, you know, okay, I'm going to pay this price. I know this is not going to, but I got to do something. Well, sometimes we don't do anything. One of the messages about, I think, the Shabbat Parah is, if you want to do something in the world and engage in the big problems of family, friends, other people, it's going to get messy a little bit. Sometimes we get a little bit dirty, but it shouldn't stop us, because in the end, that's what's needed. Shabbat Parah. So amazing message. Bob Epstein is going to read from the second portion for us, part of it, chapter 19, beginning at the very beginning, verse 1. Bob.
Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe ve'el Aharon lemor zot chukat haTorah asher tziva Adonai lemor daber el bnei Yisrael vayichu elecha parah aduma timima Asher ein bamum, asher lo Allah aleha ol, unitatem ota el Elazar hakohen, vehotzi ota el michutz lamachane, veshachat ota lefanav, velakach Elazar hakohen midama be'etzba'o vehiza el nokach pene ohel moed midama sheva pe'amim v'saraf et hapara le'enav et ora v'et bisara v'et dama lo pirsha yisrof Lakach hakohen eitz erez ve'ezov ushni tolaat ve'hishlich el toch srefat hapara.
Thank you so much. We want to thank all of our Torah readers this morning, David Bruskin, Debbie Strom, Lori Schlisman, and Bob Epstein, all four of you. Thank you so much for reading beautifully and being part of our service. So Inspired by John Krasinski's show that I know some of you know, Some Good News, we are highlighting members of our community who are doing great things and making a difference. So we present to you Some Good Jews.
Some good Jews. Good Jews.
So we have today with us, who is going to share about some of the great work he's been doing, Josh Fetter. Josh has been making cards for Community of Caring and designing some artwork. So Josh, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been doing? You can unmute.
Yeah, so I've been writing letters to elders and also been helping special needs kids play baseball.
That's amazing. What inspired you to get started doing those things?
I was inspired to start because I love baseball and love making people happy.
Cool. And what about the cards? What inspired you to do that?
It like made me happy that I was writing cards to people who weren't feeling that good and trying to cheer their day up and make them happy.
Totally. If you can think back on all the work you've done, whether it was making cards for people or the baseball piece of your project, if you could think of one moment that just felt really kind of inspiring, that made you feel really good about the work you're doing, can you think of one thing? I know that's a hard question. One thing that felt really good?
One thing that felt really good was watching them laugh and have fun and smile, and thanking me at the end.
Yeah, I bet that feels great. You know, you're really making a difference. They're having fun and smiling and laughing. That's really beautiful. Yeah. So, Josh, if other people want to get involved, if other people want to make cards for Community of Caring, if other people want to participate in the baseball project that you're working on, how can they get involved?
So they could go to the old age homes and visit to cheer them up and write letters to them, asking how their day is and trying to help them cheer up.
Awesome. And you can also, for anyone who's hearing Josh's words and feeling inspired, like you want to be helping out too and doing some of what Josh is doing, you can always get in touch with Lisa Kobe Lopez, who's our Community of Caring director, who can help put you in touch with the right people so that you can be doing Meets Vote and making a difference just like Josh is. So thank you, Josh. And we're so inspired to have you doing this amazing work as part of our community and joining us for our Shabbat morning service so that we can honor you in the great things that you've been doing.
Thank you.
So we are going to continue now with a prayer for our country. We're actually back in the Siddur Lev Shalem. We're on page 177, and we're excited to have Roy Chestnut with us, who is going to read the prayer, the first paragraph in the English, Prayer for Our Country.
Prayer for our country. Our God and God of our ancestors, with mercy accept our prayer on behalf of our country and its government. Pour out your blessing upon this land, upon its inhabitants, upon its leaders, judges, officers, and officials who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the public. Help them understand the rules of justice. You have decreed so that peace and security, happiness and freedom will never depart from our land. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Rory. Thanks for being part of our service. We're going to continue now with a prayer for the state of Israel. We're on page 178, Avinu Shabbat Shabbat.
Avinu Shabbat Zur Israel Goanu Barechet Medinat Yisrael Reshit Slicha Shabbat Zur Israel Goanu Barechet Medinat Yisrael Reshit Slichat
Avinu Sheba Shamayim, bless the state of Israel, bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy, and let us say amen. We continue now with Ashrei, and we're glad Josh Feder has decided to stay on Zoom with us for just a little bit longer so he can lead us in Ashrei alongside Chazan Mimi. We're on page 181.
Ashrei Yoshvei Veiteha Od Yahalelu HaSelah.
Ashrei ha'am shekacha lo, Ashrei ha'am she'adonai Elohav.
Tehillah LeDavid, Haromim HaElohai HaMelech, V'Havarhashim HaLeolam Va'ed.
B'chol yom avarcheka va'alalashimcha leolam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai Umhulol Me'od, V'Ligdulato Ein Heker.
Dor ledor yishabach ma'asecha ugvorotecha yagidu.
Hadar Kevod Hodeha, V'Divrei Nifloteha Asiha.
Ve'ezuz neurotecha yomeru uglatcha asaprena.
Zeher Rav Tuv HaYabiu, V'Zid Kateha Yeranenu.
Chanun v'rachum Adonai erech apayim ugdal chased.
Tov Adonai Lakol, Verahamav Al Kol Ma'asav.
Yoducha Adonai kol ma'asecha v'chasidecha yevarchucha.
Vahid,
Kevod
Lahodi,
Kevod
Kevod Malhuteha Yomeru Ugvurachteha Yedaberu.
Lahodia livnei ha'adam gevurotav uchvod hadar malchuto.
Malhuteha Malhut Kol Olamim Umemshalteha Behodor Vador.
So mech Adonai l'chol anoflim v'zokef l'chol hakfufim.
Einehol Elaha Yisaberu Ve'ata Noten Lahem Et Ochlam Be'ito.
Poteach et yadecha maspil l'chol chai ratzon.
Tzadik Adonai Behol Derahav Ve'chasid Behol Ma'asav.
Karov Adonai l'chol korav l'chol asher yikra'uhu ve'emed.
Retzon Yereav Ya'aseh Ve'et Shavatam Yishma V'Yoshiem.
Shomer Adonai et kol ohava ve'et kol rishaim yashmid.
Tehilat Adonai Yedaber Pi Vivarech Kol Bashar Shem Kocho Le'olam Va'ed. Va'anav Nu Nevarehia Me'ata Ve'ad Olam. Hallelujah.
Great job, Josh. Thank you so much.
Amazing job, Josh. Thank you. We are going to continue now with Eitz Chaim on page 184.
And Josh, I got to throw it in. I'm so proud of you for the work that you do. So
Thank you.
Eitz Chaim hi lamachazikim ba betom checha meushar dirbachecha darchei golam bechol netivotecha shalom ashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva chadesh chadesh yameinu chadesh yameinu kekedem.
We'd like you to take a few minutes now for some personal reflection, quiet meditation. If you'd like to daven the Musaf Amidah, you can find that from page 185 to page 192. And you should feel free to pray in Hebrew or in English, or just take some time and find the prayers that are in your heart.
עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. Hey, la 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 la, 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 עושה שלום עליו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו
Kaddish Shalem, page 203.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ועלמה גבר חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובמכון ובחיית כל בית ישראל, בגל בזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יש ברבם מבורך לעלם לעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ותרומה ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה ושמחתה ונחמתה, ואמרן עלמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלותו נבואתו לכל בית ישראל, כל דום אבהון לשמיה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומם, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
We're excited to have Hannah Cooper with us, who is going to be leading us in Aleinu. We'll invite you to rise. We're on page 205.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu keyei haratzot, velo samenu kemishbehot ha'adama, shelo samhel kenu kahel, vego kehol hamonam, ve'anachnu korim, umishtachavim, umodim lifnei melech Elohim hakadosh baruch hu shehu noteh shamayim veyosed haaretz umoshav yakarim bashamayim ima'am ushchina zo begov hey meromim hu Eloheinu einod emet malkeinu v'zulato katu v'torato v'yadat hayom v'hashevota elevavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim bashamayim mima'am ve'al ha'aretz mitachat ein od hakatu b'toratecha Adonai l'cholam v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shema echad.
Very nice. Yasher Koach, Hannah. Very creative. When you figure it out, you're gonna have to stand up, and how do you scrunch yourself into that picture, and how do you still use your prayer book, and how do you bow all together? It was fabulous. You have to be creative, don't you, in terms of these technological issues here. So we're looking forward to your continued studies about mitzvah, maybe. Right? Very good. All right. Those of you, in a moment, we're going to do the morning's Kaddish. So if you are reciting Kaddish, you'd like to join us, this would be the time to go to the Zoom link for the virtual Kiddush luncheon. If you're not reciting Kaddish, just hold off until you come into the room with us. This will be for people who have the obligation to recite the Kaddish. In the meantime, I'm going to share with everybody else some announcements that we have. Make sure for the Kiddush luncheon that you get your lunches ready. Hopefully you have them ready to join us. By the way, even if you just pop in for a couple minutes to say hello, there's no obligation. No one's going to give you a hard time if you pop in and then pop out. Right? We just want to see you. We miss you all. So just try. Just come in and join us on Zoom today. Chazan Mimi tomorrow. You have sacred space, this meditative experience. People love it so much, and given everything that's going on in life, you can't find a better place to center yourself and to find a sense of peace and find the right words for the moment that we're in or that you're in. And Chazan Mimi is the best leader of that. Chazan Mimi, anything else you want to add about it?
We're going to just get ready for Pesach, and we're going to mark the anniversary almost of 1 year of the Safer at Home order. So we'll be delving into those two issues, and I hope that people will join me for this very meditative service.
Very nice. I know how much people really enjoy it with you and find such meaning with it. We are going to next Shabbat, by the way, we have the B'nai Mitzvah of our brothers Cameron and Ryan Gajar. We hope that you'll join us. It's going to be fabulous. We're going to be in the sanctuary with just some of their most immediate family. And then you're going to, we're going to have everybody else right here by Zoom or by live streaming, and just the same way that we do this every Shabbat. So join us next week, 10:30 again. And I hope you all have heard about our great fundraiser this year about the Aliyah Grand Prix. It's fabulous. All right, Roy Chestnut, I know this is just up your alley. David Bruskin, you can do this as well, right? Bob for sure, right? Like gonna create those little cars, and we're gonna have races, and it's gonna be a fun fundraiser. So you're gonna look for it. You can go to, I love Ben Borshman making up these, AliyahRolls.com. All right, AliyahRolls.com. You can find information. We'll get more to you. We've got time. It's going to be fabulous. Check out our website with all kinds of programs that we have going on, including Men's Club Cybersecurity Workshop coming up. I'm going to be there, so I hope you'll join. Passover events. We have so many Passover events. Just wait. There are going to be publicities coming out. We're going to have something for everybody. All right. How to do your own Haggadah, how to create a meaningful, more meaningful Seder on Zoom. You name it. We're going to help you with it. We have TNC events, right? Chai and Sababa, all kinds of stuff going on. We're always here for you, even if we're not physically in the synagogue very often. We, in fact, are always here. Best way to contact us nowadays, not by phone, just send us an email, right? Send everything to Rabbi Galko at templealiyah.org. Just kidding, Rabbi Galko, right? But she's there, I'm there, Chazan Mimi, Chazan Stein, Maureen, the whole, just send us and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Meantime, we're going to now turn to the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. And on this Shabbat, let me mention the names of the yortzais of those that we bring to memory. On this Shabbat, remember the souls of Emily Barash, Andrea Borkowski, Salanat Dalazadeh, Elias Golan, Meyer Levine, Lila Lipkin, Irving Pedowitz, Phyllis Wolf, Ruth Aker, Jean Kaplan, Gabriella Farkas, Doris Friedman, Cynthia Glazer, Sally Goldsmith, Evelyn Goodman, Bernard Kemper, George Rockmore, Elaine Rosenberg, Lottie Rosenberg, Ella Silver, Herman August, Lillian Bubman Wexler, Isidore Dubinsky, Lillian Dunn, Herbert Enoch, William Goldberg, Earl Hagen, Isidore Maurer, Rose Meyer, Henry Rose, Armin Volk, Ellen Bernstein, Harriet Cosmer, Dennis Dine, Donna Elner, Dora Elner, Samuel Gable, Lorraine Gerson, Joseph Gottfert, Morris Green, Conrad Leitner, Richard Lopata, Bertha Machuca, Rachel Minus, David Schenfeld, Pearl Sims, John Benko, Morris Brill, Nathan Friedman, Daniel Glazer, Malia Kardish, Sarah Kushner, Muriel Mandel, Irvin Marovich, Jay Nelson, Rachel Plachta, Shelley Schiffman, Clifford Small, Anita Thormer, Marilyn Bachner, Sydney Bruskin, Miriam Kutz, Doris Dexter, Dorothy Friedman, Irving Goldsmith, Irving Schulman, Teresa Bazbaz, Lisa Brenner, Barbara Don, Marie Carlton, Harry Lapata, Nora Page, Sylvia Posnick, Joseph Rosenberg, and Alan Sandberg. If you're reciting Mourner's Kaddish and you'd like to unmute yourself so that you can be heard and you can hear us even better together as a community, you're invited to do so at this time as we join together in the words of the Kaddish. Yit Gadol, the Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Amen. Be'alma, Divrei Kilotei, Yamlich Machotei, B'chayechon, Yomechon, B'chayei, B'chol Beit Yisrael, B'Gala, Zman, Ariv, Aru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, B'Borach, Be'olam, Amen, Maya. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitroman, Yitnaseh, Yithadar, Yitalel, Yitalal, Shemei, Kedusha, Rehu, Be'ela, Mikol, Birchata, Shirata, Tushbechata, Nechamata, Kamivan, Yalma, Yinavru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Maya, B'chaim Aleinu Yaakov Israel Leru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Yaakov Israel Leru, Amen. May God establish peace in the heavens, grant peace and harmony for us, for all of Israel, and all of humanity as we say, Amen.
Amen.
We're going to invite all of you in. We have a beautiful video. Hansley, we're going to show this, all right? Let's show this video of the next generation of the Rolling Steins with your son and grandson. And we're going to, they'll help us transition. And everybody else, now's your time to join us and come onto the Zoom room and to do Kiddush with us and stay around a little bit. Here we go.
Join us in Or Zaru Alat Sadiq. Live a life of goodness. Be Be the righteous one, live a life of kindness. Be the righteous one, live a life of holiness. Be the righteous one, and let your heart shine out. Oh, Zaru Allah, la 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 la, la tzaddik. Oh, Zaru Allah, la 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 la, la tzaddik. Oh, Yisrael simcha, oh, Yisrael simcha, oh, Yisrael simcha. Live a life of goodness. Be the righteous one, live a life of kindness. Be the righteous one, live a life of holiness. Be the righteous one. Let your heart shine out. For Zaru Allah, la 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 la, la tzaddik. For Zaru Allah, for Zaru Allah, la 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 la, la tzaddik. Will Yisrael simcha, will Yisrael simcha, will Yisrael simcha, will Hey, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Awesome.
That is so beautiful.
So beautiful.
There are no.
Hazan, Mimi, we have you on mute somehow.
I don't know. Okay. So I just said that was so beautiful to watch that Lador Vador. What Kfelling Hazan Stein must be doing from that beautiful family, how sweet and beautiful that was. So not to be a buzzkill, but we'll, so to speak, but we're going to join together in Vishamru. Please join with me. And if you're not in the Zoom room and you want to, come on down. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat Lasot et Hashabbat L'dorotam berit olam.
we're going to join together in Kiddush. So if you have some grape juice or wine, you can grab it and join with us. Al Kain Berach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat Vayikadshehu Savri Chaverai.
Chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
And we're going to do some Netilat Yadayim. We're going to do Netilat Yadayim now as we anticipate the Motzi. So if you have your Netilat Yadayim, as I do here, over each hand. Okay, there you go. And then you can dry it, and the blessings recited. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishon v'zotav v'tzivanu al Netilat Yadayim. Now take your challah. Let me see. Anybody got fresh challah? Oh, nice. Fazan Mimi, good. Anybody else got some fresh challah out there? All right, if you do, show it. Oh, there. Oh, Hoisha is very good. All right, if not, you'll share my challah. Here it goes. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
A little bit of salt, and here we go. Chazan Stein, take us out.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom, Shabbat